15 championship leader, and he came into the weekend with a lead of around 24 points or so. He would have extended that further yesterday by taking his third win in a row after he picked up the double at Silverstone last time out just a couple of weeks ago. And so far this season, they started the season back at Nogaro at these cars' home country of France. Then they went off to Spa-Francorchamps, to Hockenheim. Then they went to, of course, the last couple of rounds at Silverstone, here at Barcelona, and then they finish off back in France at the finale of the circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet in France. The car's forming up behind the Alpine A110 safety car, and we're getting set for what should be a fantastic race. Now, Mattia Herrero wants to try and make the most of his pole position here, but he may well know that Guy Castelli has got very strong dry weather pace, as we've seen in the last few races this season. Laurent Hergon will simply just be out there to get a good result after he failed to finish the first race. Jean-Baptiste Meyer will be looking to try and get one over Mathieu Herrera if he can, because Herrera beat him, as those two drivers are part of the junior class, the winner of which gets a test drive in the Signatech Alpine LMP2 race car. And also watch out for the likes of Vincent Beltoise, Marc Guillot, and even potentially Nicolas Milan. And the gentleman category is a battle between Rodolphe Valgren, Mathieu Blaise, possibly also Philippe Bourgeois as well, and Jaime Hernandez also impressed at one point during the race. So the car's forming up 2 by 2. It's a rolling start. It is 25 minutes plus 1 lap, which means when the clock hits 0, they will go on to 1 more lap. And it is Mathieu Herrera on the left in the white and orange car, number 29. Points leader Guy Castelli on the front row alongside him in the yellow car. The safety car peels off, and we are all set for race number 2 of the weekend for the Alpine Europa Cup here at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. We are all ready to go. Watch for the red lights at the top of the screen. When they go green, we'll be underway once again for the Alpine Europa Cup. They go green, and it's a good jump for Laurent Hergon initially from the start of the race. Tries to force his way in between the front row men, and they make the sprint down the long drag down the pit straight. That heat haze, they start to funnel through as they come past, and it is 3 abreast already. Herrera on the left, Gargstead in the middle, Jean-Baptiste Meyer on the right. Who's going to get the whole shot into turn 1 for the first time? They head into the braking zone, round the outside. The two junior category drivers go side by side, but it's Herrera who leads the way. Meyer's a little bit off the road. One car skipping over the chicane is wide on the exit. Gargstead up the inside of Mattia Herrera. There's a little bit of contact between them, but they carry on, and Hergon's lost a couple of spots as he battles with his adversary from yesterday, Gargstead, but both of them have made it through turns 1 and 2 safely. But Herrera leads on the sprint up towards Repsol corner of turn 4. Castelli in second place. Beltoise is up to third place after a cracking start for Vincent Beltoise, up about 5 or 6 spots from where he started on the grid. Fourth is Jean-Baptiste Meller. There's Marc Guillot. Laurent Hergon, who's down from what was the second row of the grid down to 6th. He's battling side by side with Guillot on the outside into Seat corner. Nicolas Milan is 7th. Then it's Valgren, Blaise and Bourgeois. Then Hernandez, Mackie, Lemaitre, Ruel and Prou. That's the end of it. And no Mike Parisi, sadly, who's on this grid for this weekend. Into the Verth chicane for the first time. And it's still Herrera who leads it. They funnel their way through a left and right, using all the curb on the exit, then up to the top of the hill, into the slightly off-camber right-hander of Campsa corner. There is number 9, Philippe Bourgeois, who is 3rd in the order in the gentleman category. And they head down towards the big braking zone of the Lacaille hairpin. Beltoise slotting back into the racing line. And is Jean-Baptiste Meyer. A dive up the inside from Rodolphe Valgren on the inside of Mathieu Blaise. That's the lead of the gentleman category. So Blaise has got the jump. They almost rub wheels. And again, Blaise tries to force the issue. Valgren goes up onto the curb into Bank de Sabadell. Looks for the inside line as they cut through the long right hand, and they continue to climb upwards. Then they start to plunge downhill as they come into the S's through the chicane for the first time. So Herrera then is breaking the dominance from Guy Castelli for the moment. It's he who leads: Castelli, Beltoise, Meyer, Guillot, Hergon. Then Nicolas Milan. That's the breakaway 6 or 7 cars at the front. Mathieu Blaise leads the next group, still ahead of Rodolphe Valgren, and past the pits for the first time. So now Guy Castelli will try and gain the slipstream from Herrera in front, because he's the man that punches the hole in the air at the moment. That's everyone else behind looking for the slipstream. Just behind, I can see in the background there, Blaise and Valgren looking to go side by side. A flash of the headlights there for Jean-Baptiste Meyer back in 4th position. The blue car just ahead of the yellow and red machine of Guy Castelli. And there is the scrap going on for the gentleman category as they turn their way out through turns 1, 2 and 3. Out of the Elf S's, through Renault corner at turn 3. Valgren just carrying on to apply the pressure on the back of Blaise. Just behind them is Philippe Bourgeois, so that's going to be the main battle in the gentleman category. No change yet in the top 6. Nicolas Milan starting to fall away just a little bit at this point already in the first couple of laps. And now Jean-Baptiste Meyer trying to pull himself alongside in the braking zone, downhill towards Seat corner. Beltoise goes defensive, but they can't keep on battling too much because they'll lose time to the 2 cars in front, whilst at the same time they will also start to come under threat from both Gio and Hergon. Looks as though the two of them seem to put their differences aside after yesterday's little skirmish at the first couple of corners on the opening lap, and they seem to be trying to work together. I could be saying that rather too prematurely, but we'll wait and see how they deal with it. Up through Camp's corner for the second time. The lead gap is only 0.3 of a second. At the moment in that first sector, it's actually gone to Laurent Hergon, who's the fastest man on track in that first sector. End of the middle sector into Le Caixa hairpin, one of the biggest stops on the circuit. And Gio just sailing up onto the back of Jean-Baptiste Meyer. They're all over the curbs on the exit through Bank de Sabadell, and they turn their way through this long, ever uphill right-hander. Hergon is now running back in sixth position at the back of this leading group. And they turn back into the chicane for the second time. Beltoise would love to grab himself a podium if he can. Jean-Baptiste Meyer, of course, finished third yesterday, behind Mathieu Herrero. This is the battle we've got here, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. Beltoise in the white, blue and orange car, the all-blue machine of Jean-Baptiste Meyer. Here's that fight for the gentleman class there in third in that category. And 10th overall is Philippe Bourgeois. Just ahead, Valgren all over the back of Blaise down the pit straight. So on to lap 3. And Castelli is lining up a move on Mathieu Herrero. Here he comes, looking up the inside, but puts himself into Herrero's mirrors, darts back in behind him into the braking zone, and looks for another opportunity later on around the lap. There is Guy Castelli in second place. We just saw a shot there of Marc Guillot chasing after Jean-Baptiste Meller. The ever-increasing temperatures, we're in the middle of the afternoon now, so of course the circuit's going to be much hotter than it was towards the end of the day yesterday. But of course the temperatures that they would have had at the end of yesterday would have been much more than they had for qualifying, because they went out in slightly, not completely wet, but it's more intermediate, but very sort of damp conditions out there, but they managed to cope pretty well. I think that's how we got Rodolphe Valgren picking up a front row spot on the grid yesterday. I mean, he's now dropped back, of course, into that contest for the gentleman class lead. 8th and 9th overall is Blaise and Valgren, with Bourgeois rounding out the top 10. Jaime Hernandez, who's the DS driver, is running in 11th place ahead of Pierre Macchi as Carl Castelli's pushing quite hard. He uses all the road and a little bit more, maybe a bit too much on the exit through the Verse chicane into Campsa corner. And there's Laurent Hergon chasing down Marc Guillot, looking to try and put one up on him as they head back down towards Le Caixa hairpin. Beltoise just moving out a little bit to break the toe from Jean-Baptiste Meyer. Sweeps back to the racing line as he turns in. And coming up to the end of the third lap now, and the top two aren't really getting away that much. Herrero and Castelli have got the gap that they need at the moment. They're not really being troubled too much by Vincent Beltoise. The gap between second and third is almost a second as Herrero and Castelli carry on. And whether or not Castelli's got more outright pace than Herrero remains to be seen, but it looks as though that the junior appears to have the pace on the championship leader. But this is our main scrap at the front. There is Marc Guillot lining up a potential move on Jean-Baptiste Meller. And the same could be happening for the lead. As you see the yellow car, number 15 on the left-hand side. Guy Castelli, if he can put himself alongside, which he doesn't appear to have done just yet, unless he's brave enough to try and outbrake the junior into turn 1. But again, doesn't have the pace off the final corner. Can't get him down the straight, so he has to slot back in behind in second place and look for another opportunity later on round the lap. Fastest lap of the race so far has actually been taken by Marc Guillot. He's done a 1:59.108, and everyone in that leading group of 5 or 6 cars are all lapping in the same sort of time range, about roughly the low to mid 1:59, so very similar pace. Beltoise goes defensive into Repsol corner, looking around the outside. Look, Jean-Baptiste Meyer, he slots in between Beltoise and Guillot, who himself is also trying to make a move here to get further inside the top 5. And they're almost fanning out 3 abreast into Seat corner. Beltoise again takes the inside line to prevent any kind of an attack from Meyer. Guillot's also trying to get onto the back bumper of him as they come down the hill under the bridge and towards the Verse chicane. And Meyer now is the one that has to go defensive. Hergon starts to close in now in 6th position. But lap time wise, it was a 1:59.3 for Herrero, 1:59.2, so a fraction faster for Castelli on that lap. 1:59.4 for Beltoise, a 59.2 for Meller. Guillot's lap was a 59.1, and so was Laurent Hergon. So the 2 cars at the back of this 6-car group are looking well. At the top of the shot, you see Nicolas Milan in 7th place. He's in a bit of no man's land. He's 2 seconds behind Hergon and 2 seconds ahead of that scrap for the gentleman class. Mathieu Blaise still leads that from Rodolphe Valgren. They've both got a bit of a comfortable gap over 10th place man overall and 3rd in class, Philippe Bourgeois. The rest of the field is Hernandez, Macchi, Lemaitre, and Drew as they come back into the S's once again, hopping over the curbs through the chicane and back onto the straight. A couple of drivers have got to be careful not to use too much exit curb through New Holland. Otherwise, they will get hit with a penalty if they're not careful. They will get a warning, and then if they do keep on transgressing the track limits, they do get a time penalty, which we have seen more than once. Again, Castelli, either he's trying to cool the car a little bit because it is obviously much warmer than it was at the end of yesterday, or just trying to put himself into Herrero's mirrors to try and distract him, to cause him to lose concentration for a second, to make a move. This is a replay. Yves Lemaitre going up the inside of Jaime Hernandez and instead makes contact with Pierre Macchi. A little bit clumsy, and this is further forwards, further behind. This is Stéphane Prou and Franck Ruel, and this is Prou getting past Ruel into the chicane. Rather elegant. Anyway, looking back to our leaders, who will come into shot in a second now. Here they come. Into shot. And into the hairpin. Castelli having a look up the inside into Sayat corner. Trying to monster the back of Herrera, but again, he's not managed to find his way past the junior driver. Castelli seems to have found his match on this second race here at Barcelona. A little wide on the exit there from Herrera. He's starting to feel the pressure now. He knows that Castelli's starting to attack. He's starting to try and find a way through. Beltoire's, meanwhile, under threat for Jean-Baptiste Mella, who seems to, at the moment, have Castelli under... Marc Guillot, forgive me, under control for the time being. Hergon's dropped back a little bit and diving up the inside for the lead. Into Lukaisha hairpin goes Castelli. Is he going to make it stick? Herrera sticks around the outside line and sweeps back in front, but that was a daring pass. That was the first proper attempt from Castelli to take the lead. Looks again up the inside of Bank de Sabadell. Warning flag for car 18. That's Pierre Macchi. Either that's for track limits or for maybe his part of the contact with maybe when he came together with Yves Lemaitre at Lukaisha hairpin. I'm not sure, but he's getting a warning flag nonetheless. But Castelli's looking a little bit more racy now. He feels he's possibly got an opportunity here. There's still 15 minutes plus a lap to go in this race. We've only had 10 minutes gone so far. And Castelli, once again, tucks in the slipstream, looking for a move down towards turn 1. And again, he moves out. He's done this so many times, but has he got enough straight line speed to pull himself alongside Herrera? He might be a little bit closer this time. Is he going to be later under brakes? Not on this occasion. Slots back in. He thinks discretion's the better part of valor once again. Looks for another move later around. And safety car has been deployed on my screen. So safety car's been deployed. The reason why is a mystery to us at the moment, but there it is on the screen. SC safety car. So the field will bunch up once again. Now, hopefully we'll get a replay of exactly what the cause of the safety car is. I can't see anything from the what I can see around the circuit. I can't see anything obvious that suggests the cause of the safety car. Ah, there's the reason. We've got a car off the road. Pierre Macchi off the road. That was him out of around about 12th or 13th place. So the question is then, did he jump or was he pushed? As in, did he do that by himself or was he helped off? Well, he did get a warning flag. But whether that was for contact or track limits. And there we go. Ah, looks to me as if he's done it all by himself. So Pierre Macchi then, finding himself in the gravel trap. And I imagine either he stalled the engine or went to try and dig himself out, but being a little too heavy with the right foot may have possibly beached him in the gravel trap. He didn't look completely beached in the gravel. He could have possibly just got back on the throttle very gingerly and tracked his way out, but I'm reckoning potentially that he may well have stalled the car and have been unable to start it again. So the field will line up behind the Alpine A110 road car that's acting as the safety car for the championship. And Matti Herrero will form up behind it with Castelli in second place. This does give a few of the cars a little bit of a reprieve in terms of being able to look after their tyres a little better. There's Nicolas Milan, seventh place, just ahead of the leading gentleman driver Mathieu Blaise. But what this will also do is give Rodolphe Valgren and Philippe Bourgeois a chance to close in to top that one. And just to confirm the order then, Matti Herrero leads with just under 13 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Castelli in second place, championship leader. Vincent Beltoire's third, Jean-Baptiste Meyer fourth, Marc Guillot fifth. And then Laurent Hergon in sixth position. Seventh place for Nicolas Milan. Eighth for Mathieu Blaise. Ninth for Rodolphe Valgren and Philippe Bourgeois rounding out the top 10. Then Jaime Hernandez, Yves Lemaitre and Stéphane Prou and Franck Ruel round out the 14 cars still running. And it is Pierre Macchi's car off in the Repsol corner gravel trap that we have as the cause of the safety car. So hopefully the ever hard-working Spanish marshals and recovery teams can get that car out as quickly as possible. Everyone just sort of spreading out on the pit straight for some reason, whether they're just trying to cool the engine as much as possible, because, as we say, temperatures are much hotter than they were yesterday, particularly at the end of the day when it was much brighter than some of the damp and wet conditions that we had to the start of the day. And look at the weather forecast, it's getting as high as 28 degrees here today at this part of Spain. There's Mathieu Blaise looking to try and make some progress in the gentleman points camp, and Laurent Hergon certainly having a much better fortune in terms of his race so far. As we mentioned, he didn't really make it much out, so it's actually the Nissan Duke safety car that will bring the field around once again. And again, everyone weaving from side to side to get a little bit more, keep some heat and pressure into the tyres and the brakes. I would have thought with the rather high track temperatures out here this weekend that there shouldn't be too much of a problem, I don't think. So everyone just slowing up a little bit behind the safety car. I think they're just going past the scene of the incident. But with these increased track temperatures, I wouldn't have thought that weaving, yes, of course, keeps the temperatures up, but it would be a little bit easier for them to regulate the temperatures with the fact that the track temperature is also going up as we get towards the middle part of the afternoon. We're coming up to around about 1:45 local time here at Barcelona. And well, the summer, I imagine, will probably be roughly around about at its highest. So I just saw a shot of the recovery teams retrieving Pierre Mackey's car back through the gravel trap. Coming into this weekend, we talked about the fact that Garn Castelli had around about a 23 point lead over second place man Marc Guillot. But of course, Guillot didn't score any points yesterday, so that gap will have increased even further. And if Castelli can make it 4 wins in a row, that will certainly put him in a prime position for the championship finale at Paul Ricard in a few weeks' time. So hopefully the safety car will come back past and maybe we'll get possibly one more lap at this reduced speed. There's Jaime Hernandez running pretty well in the guest car. 11th place at the moment. And there is Franck Rel running at the back of the field. And that guest car's been driven by a couple of different drivers. More recently, we've had the likes of the Grand Tour's Abby Eaton, who's driven that car at Hockenheim. We also had Matt Pryor in that car at Silverstone. And now Jaime Hernandez is the guest driver on this occasion. So past the pits once again under safety car conditions. And I would imagine that, as I said, that it's not going to take anything more than this lap to make sure the car is back in position in a safe enough place to allow racing to continue once again. But everyone running at that reduced pace, and some are choosing to still weave from side to side. Others may be thinking the track is warm enough to just run at a regular pace and to carry on without using the tyres up too much, to simply keep them going as long as possible. It's not long to go now, 8.5 minutes plus 1 lap, so it's going to be a slightly shorter race than we had yesterday in terms of laps, because yesterday was unaffected by the safety car. And there is Mathieu Blaise, who leads the gentleman runners in this race at the moment, just behind Nicolas Milan. And the gentleman running order at the moment, there are 8 cars in that class at the moment, including our guest driver Jaime Hernandez. It's Blaise who leads the way out of the gentleman runners. Rolf Valor in second, Philippe Bourgeois third, Jaime Hernandez fourth, so doing well in the gentleman category. If he picks up one more place, he could possibly get himself on the podium if he plays his cards right. But it's Yves Lemaitre, Stéphane Prou and Franck Rel out of the 7 that are still running. The one car we've lost, obviously, is Pierre Mackey. And confirmation, Mathieu Herrera, of course, running in the junior category, and of course he's leading the race, so he's ahead of Jean-Baptiste Meyer. That will mean he can hopefully try and maintain some kind of a points advantage over him for this weekend, although I believe, if I'm correct, Jean-Baptiste Meyer was ahead of him into the weekend in 3rd in the points, if I'm correct. There is Marc Guillot, another championship contender. Had a pretty rough day yesterday. Safety car is still out at the moment. There's no message yet on the timing screens that the safety car is coming in this lap, or that the safety car lights are about to be extinguished. So are we hopefully going to get them underway this time? We're coming up to 7 minutes plus 1 lap to go. If they're going to bring the the safety car lands, it's probably going to be around about here, I would have thought, but it seems as though that the recovery of this car is taking a little longer than anticipated, it seems. I would have thought it would have been finished up by now, but it seems as though we possibly need another lap, it seems, to recover Pierre Mackie's car from the scene of its off. Looks to be the case. So they're going to go around once again at reduced speed, which means they'll have even less time. It'll be more of a sprint to the checkered flag. It'll mean that Gar Castelli has less time available, of course, to try and find a way through Mathieu Herrera. That might mean he might start to get a little more desperate. But then again, when he is the championship leader, you can't afford to take too many unnecessary risks because, of course, one small slip can cost you a result that you may well look back on in the championship and think that was the moment when everything slipped away. So you have to play in some cases when you get to this point where you've got a nice cushion in the championship, just effectively bag all the points that you can. And even if you can't go for the victory, second place will still be quite a bit. He'll still be finishing ahead of the likes of Marc Guillot and Jean-Baptiste Meyer, ahead of Vincent Beltoise. Many of the key drivers which he is in front of in the championship, in the lead. So if you can just hold on to that, that should be enough. So now we've just got to be careful that we don't see anyone weaving too vigorously, that we see them spin off. We did actually have that in the beginning of the TCR race on the formation lap. We saw one driver just off the grid. It's one of the Cupras went off the road and hit the barriers under the formation lap just after you'd left the grid. So there was a bit of a delayed start. So it can happen, even at reduced speed. If you weave too vigorously or there's not enough grip on the circuit, it can turn into a slightly awkward situation if it works out that way. So coming up to 5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Reminder of where we are then. There's our race leader, Mathieu Herrera, top junior driver as well. Gar Castelli is second. Vincent Beltoise third. Jean-Baptiste Meller fourth. Marc Guillot in fifth position. Laurent Hergon is sixth. Nicolas Milan seventh. Mathieu Blaise, who leads the gentleman category, is eighth. Then it's gentleman drivers all the way through. Rolf Valgren is ninth. Philippe Bourgeois is 10th. Jaime Hernandez in the guest car is 11th. Yves Lemaitre 12th. Stéphane Prou is 13th. And Franck Ruel rounds out the 14 car still running, and it's Pierre Mackie's car that went off into the gravel at Repsol Corner all by himself that caused the deployment of the safety car. Now, I didn't see any more work going on at Repsol Corner, so I would have thought, sincerely, that we would get racing back underway this time by. So it still says safety car deployed. No sign yet any more of safety car lights going out yet. It will say on the screen if they're going out. Safety car lights, they're still on the back straight, so I have to be honest, I'm not quite sure. There we go, just as I say that. I was about to second guess myself, but safety car is in this lap, so the lights are out. So in this situation, Mathieu Herrera now becomes effectively the safety car for this restart, now that the lights are out. He now has to decide how much he wants to back the pack up, and then to decide when he wants to get the race restarted. And effectively, once you put your foot down to restart the race, you cannot back off and sort of stop and start and play games with the car behind. You have to go. Once you put your foot down to restart the race, that's it. You have to go. Whether it's a good or a bad restart, whether you've caught anyone off guard or they've all gone with you, you have to go when you decide to go. So they're just bunching everyone up now. Herrera will choose his moment to get the race underway. I think he might have gone now. Still weaving from side to side. He might try and get a nice run through the chicane here onto the pit straight once more. Where's he going to go? He's going now. Engine notes rise as they come all the way through the chicane. The speeds are going up a little more. That's actually a really good restart for Mathieu Herrera. He's caught Gar Castelli napping a little bit. Green flag in the air on the pit straight. And we are back to racing with 3¼ minutes plus 1 lap in this second Alpine Alpha Europa Cup race here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Safety car is in and we're underway once again. And already Vincent Beltoise is trying to go on the offensive on second place man and championship leader Gar Castelli into turn 1 on the restart. Herrera leads the way. It's Castelli in second place, but now he's under threat from Vincent Beltoise. He's left Jean-Baptiste Meller behind a little bit. This now puts him under threat from Marc Guillot. Likewise, Laurent Hergon's been dropped by Guillot, and that puts him into the clutches of Nicolas Milan. Mathieu Blaise isn't too far away either. Neither is Valgren. And now it's the top 3 altogether. And here comes Castelli, possibly looking up the inside line, sweeping this way and that, but still, Herrera turns into Repsol Corner on the racing line in the lead. And all that weaving around is only going to lose him time unless he can find a way through. Does he dare move up to the inside of the set corner? He's looking for it. Herrera takes the wide approach. Castelli shows his nose. He might get up the inside line if he's not careful. Herrera runs wide, but slips back in front if he can. Can he get in front quick enough for Castelli to hold on to the position? Yes, he can. And Castelli holds on in second place. He can't quite get through just yet. This now brings Beltoise back onto his tail. Also watch out for Meller and Guillot in 4th and 5th. They might start to close in. There's only, I think, at the end of this one, 2 more laps to go. And that top 3 are starting to try and break away, although Mellor and Gio are trying to go with them. Hergon's trying to drop Milan at this point to keep on that tail of 6 cars. They come back into Lakaisha Hairpin, and Beltoise is starting to get racy here. Just a little nibble of the rear bumper of Castelli, just letting him know he's there. He's not completely out of the woods yet. He may be focusing mostly on trying to get past Herrera, but he's got to keep one eye on the cars behind, because Beltoise and Mellor and Gio and Hergon, they're all stacking up behind Castelli at this point in time. And they know one slip, one failed attempt at making a move, and all 4 of them will be in a prime position to pounce. Hopping over the curbs, left and then right through the chicane. It's Herrera still leading the way. Castelli isn't really as close as he needs to be to get the right amount of a tow on the pit straight. They've got a decent gap now to Beltoise there, so Beltoise can't really get a tow from Castelli either. But he's now coming under threat from Mellor, who in turn is getting a double tow from both Beltoise and Mellor in front. So Gio in 5th position could make it 3rd. Meanwhile, in front of them, here comes Castelli looking to the inside line. And again, can't put himself alongside into the braking zone for Elf Corner. Through turns 1 and 2, it is one of those pinch points in the circuit where everyone's sort of concertina is together. And if you're going 3 abreast, you'll have to bottleneck into 1 by 1. You can go side by side through there if you're brave enough and have enough grip and confidence. But at the moment, it seems as though that it's all being held on to by Matti Herrera. Castelli's still in 2nd place. This 4-way scrap for 3rd developing, because Laurent Hergon has caught the tail of this trio for 3rd place, the final podium spot. Less than 30 seconds on the clock, so next time by they'll get one more time around. Castelli again shows his nose into Sayat Corner. It's a place he likes to try and dive up the inside lines to try and force a mistake from Herrera, but still no move. Mellor instead is trying to defend up the inside line from Gio. I have to say this race has been mostly quite a stalemate between drivers here, because it seems as though no one's really been able to find a proper way to get past here. Either they've tried to pull alongside or not been able to. I think it might be because there is that particular pit straight. I'm looking at the direction of the flags. There is a bit of a headwind. So effectively they're driving into the wind. Therefore, every time Gar Castelli tries to move out, basically he just gets a roadblock in terms of the wind blowing against him. So it might be the reason why he's losing straight line speed when he moves out of the slipstream. If he had a tailwind, it'd be much better, because he'd be able to pull himself alongside and draw level as they came down towards turn 1. He needs basically a super exit through the chicane, through New Holland and onto the pit straight to stand any chance of passing Herrera into turn 1. So the clock has hit 0. They get one more time by the flag to start the last lap of the race. Herrera's looking okay in that position. Castelli's a little bit closer than he was last time by, but not in the position to really make a move as they come down the pit straight. So one more lap to go then. And just watching Castelli, he was in the tow, but again, as soon as he moves out, he will feel the effect of that headwind. Closes up on the pit straight. Here he goes. Which way is he going to go? Inside, outside. Oh, he sells the dummy up the inside line, but still he can't commit into the braking zone. He can't put himself alongside into turn 1. He sent Mateo Herrera one way, then the other, but still cannot find a way past the junior driver as they come up through Renault Corner for the last time. If he's going to make this move, I know it sounds obvious, but he has to make it now. Otherwise, he'll start to lose opportunities. He'll start to lose time. Where's he going to go again? Thinks about a dive into Repsol Corner. Meanwhile, for 3rd place, Jean-Baptiste Mellor looks around the outside of Vincent Beltoise. Beltoise throws the block. Mellor looks for the cut back on the exit down towards Sayat Corner. The leaders come back down towards turn 5. And here comes Castelli back up the inside line. Is that going to be enough? No. Herrera's still got the grip around the outside. Herrera holds off the championship leader. He's still got another half a lap to go to do this. Herrera leads. Castelli 2nd place. Jean-Baptiste Meyer. He's at it again, throwing the headlights, and it's worked up the inside line. There's almost been a contact. They touch. Round goes Meyer. He does a complete 360. Hergon and Gio go off the road into avoid contact. Also goes Nicola Milan. That might have been a slightly opportunistic move, although Beltoise did open the door. I'm not sure if there's going to be contention with the stewards about that one, whether or not there was contact, because they came together. Here's the replay. So Meyer flashes the headlights, dives up the inside. Now Mega did get onto the curb there, which might have put him into Beltoise and spun him around. We'll see what the stewards say about that. Meanwhile, with the lead, this is live pictures, and Castelli is looking up the inside to make one final move. It'll have to be either a dive into the chicane on the last lap to make it happen. Herrera has put up a fantastic defensive effort to hold off the championship leader. He heads into the chicane for the final time. Castelli has thrown just about everything he can at him, but it's not going to work as they come out of the final corner. The Castelli win streak has been broken because out onto the pit straight and up to the checkered flag, Matti Herrera wins the 2nd Alpine Elf Europa Cup race in brilliant fashion ahead of Gar Castelli. It's 3rd place for Vincent Beltoise and a change for 4th on the line. Laurent Hergon beats Marc Gio. That's going to be revenge for turn 1 at race 1, I think. Hergon gets 4th, Guillaume gets 5th, Milan gets 6th, Valgren wins the gentleman class by passing Mathieu Blaise in the final couple of laps, and Jean-Baptiste Meyer, after his spin, finishes up in 9th. And it could have been 3rd. Incredibly. 10th was Philippe Bourgeois, 11th Yves Lemaitre. Then it's Jaime Hernandez in the guest car finishes 12th, Stéphane Preux is 13th, and Franck Ruel rounds out the finishers. And there, I'm sure, is an absolutely delighted Mathieu Herrera. Not only is it an overall win, he's beaten Jean-Baptiste Meyer considerably, and that will certainly give him a massive haul of points towards closing in on him. In fact, potentially even drawing level or overtaking him before these cars head off to the season finale in a few weeks' time at Circuit Paul Ricard. So, after a breathless race with a safety car interruption in the middle, Mathieu Herrera wins by 0.4 of a second from Gal Castelli in 2nd place. Vincent Beltoise rounds off the podium in 3rd. Laurent Hergon beats Marc Guillaume in the final couple of corners to take 4th place ahead of number 21. Then it's Nicolas Milan 5th. Rodolphe Valgren, who wins the gentleman category, for Mathieu Blaise in 8th. Jean-Baptiste Meyer, what could have been 3rd, ends up 9th. Then it's Philippe Bourgeois in 10th from Yves Lemaitre, Jaime Hernandez, Stéphane Preux and Franck Ruel. And we lost Pierre Mackie around about halfway through the race after he spun off into the gravel at Repsol Corner. So the cars make their way back around to pit lane. I'm sure they'll pull up underneath the podium in part firme conditions. And Mathieu Herrera, I'm sure, will be treasuring that victory. And he really did have to work for that. Gal Castelli, even that either Herrera just had the measure of him pace-wise or just didn't have the extra little edge on the 29 to be able to make it through. He just didn't seem to be able to pull off the pass whenever an opportunity arose. And he tried to put himself alongside several times in the braking zone at turn 1, in turn 4, in turn 5, up into back to Sabadell. Several times he tried to move through, but Herrera's car was just always in the right place at the right time. And I think Castelli realised that rather than make a move that wasn't going to be on, I think he played the long game with the championship and said, look, if I can't get the victory, 2nd place is good enough. It's still a good haul of points. It's about roughly 22 points or so. He's only losing 3 points to Herrera. At the moment, he's got a comfortable lead. That's all he needed after winning yesterday and both races at Silverstone. However, it only takes a couple of bad races at Paul Ricard to turn the title race completely on its head. So we shall wait with bated breath when these cars are back out for their final rounds. But into the pit lane come the top 3. And they will all head out onto the podium very shortly. And these cars, of course, are fantastic little machines. They only weigh about 1,050 kilograms, roughly around 260, 270 horsepower. And, of course, Mathieu Herrera will certainly be putting himself into a much stronger position to potentially pick up that Signatech Alpine LMP2 prize test drive. And there's plenty of celebration. You can hear them in the background. Let's see what his reaction is. He was flashing the headlights quite a lot, so I think he's definitely delighted at that. Out he climbs. To cheers and support from many of his team, many of his fans. It's a very strong result for that young driver. And did well to hold off someone as quick as Gal Castelli. Plenty of hugs and handshakes all round. And also a strong result. Vincent Beltoise looked happy with their place in the background there, just off to the right. There's more and more. And there's Gal Castelli, says, good job, buddy, well done. Great defensive effort. So... great stuff. And to the camera, P1. And he's certainly very delighted with that. And so he should be. Great drive all through. Safety car closings up a little bit more, but even on the restart, he got the jump on Castelli, held on, and was able to control the pace and basically absorb every attack that Gal throw at him. And of course, Vincent Beltoise should be pleased with that 3rd place. Of course, he's got a lot of experience having raced in Formula 3, Formula Palmer Audis, raced in Porsche Super Cup as well, GT4 last year in the French Championship. Now, of course, running effectively full-time. I think that's his mother he's hugging there, so nice little hug from Mum. And they will get the drivers up onto the podium very shortly. For the record, the fastest lap of the race actually went to Laurent Hergon. Towards the end of the race. It was a 1 minute 59.024 for Laurent, so he'll get the bonus point, if you like, for that one. And you can see the order of the 3 gentleman drivers behind who finished on that podium. So just for the record, Rodolphe Valgren took the victory, finishing 7th overall. So that's a double victory for him in the gentleman category. Mathieu Blaise picked up second, Philippe Bourgeois third. I think it's the same 3 drivers that were on the podium yesterday in the gentleman class in the same order. And I can see that there's one of the reps from Alpine just waiting patiently on the podium. One thing I have found, having myself commentated on club motorsport at circuits, is that one thing that seems to amuse me when it comes to drivers is that they like to talk a lot first after the race, but then forget they've got a trophy to pick up. So they tend to talk for 5-10 minutes, and then it sort of brings the podium ceremony to a bit of a delay. So usually it should be the way around. Just pick your trophy up first, and then go ahead and talk to your heart's content afterwards. But all the adrenaline, I don't blame them for talking afterwards, because all the adrenaline that we're pumping through them and just wanting to tell people how awesome that race was, or how great the pass they made was, or how they were able to hold off the guy behind him for so long. But maybe it's just me just being a bit sort of pedantic in terms of keeping things running in terms of a race schedule. That's how they do it in the UK. A bit different in Spain, possibly. But either way, we are just waiting patiently here for our podium. I can just see the drivers just commentary boxes just on top of the main pit straight grandstand, looking just across and down on the Parc Fermé area that you're currently looking on the TV screen here, and I can see that the drivers are making their way through the door up towards the podium, and we'll be able to welcome our top 3 overall up onto the rostrum. I think I can see some more movement there just behind the podiums. I think we're just about ready to get them underway very shortly. And you've got the 3 bottles of champagne also waiting patiently. I'm sure they're going to be uncorked and sprayed very quickly. I'm sure they could do with cooling off after what is now becoming a very increasingly warm day here, as you'd expect in southern Spain. And hopefully we can get our podium underway very shortly. If you want more information on the championship, just for the record, there's 2 places you can go on the internet. If you want to find out more about them, you can either head to alpinecars.com and search for Europa Cup. If you want the actual championship website, it's alpineelfeuropacup.com. So either 2 you want to find out how you can possibly, if you want to get involved in this championship and find out more about how it works, then you can certainly do so via that method. And we should mention that the actual overall champion, who at this point in time it's looking like it's going to be Gal Castelli, they actually get as a prize an Alpine A110 road car, one of the brand new shape Alpine A110s as a prize. And also they get a test drive in the new Alpine A110 GT4 race car. So there's a GT4 version of this car now. The gentleman championship winner also gets a test drive in that car, plus 10,000 euros as well. And as we said, it'll either be Mathieu Herrero or Jean-Baptiste Mella who will pick up that prize for the top junior driver, and they will get the test in the Signatech Alpine LMP2 car, which is quite key. They want to get themselves up the sports car ladder in later years. I can hear the circuit podium announcer, which means we should be getting our podium underway any second now, and we'll be able to show you the top 3 coming onto the podium. So first of all, up onto 3rd place comes Vincent Beltoise. Bounds up onto the podium. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya in southern Spain for the penultimate meeting of the season for the International GT Open Championship. Race